Well, hello and good day to you all. My name is Dimitri Frederick, and you're watching Voices for the Voiceless, a Frederick Media production and a subsidiary of Frederick Capital. Today is May the 6th, 2011, and today's show is entitled Where Do We Go From Here? And today's show is really looking into the big news that just occurred last week with the capture and also the death of Osama Bin Laden. And so today's show, as always, Voices for the Voiceless is not a show dedicated to just giving you hardcore news like it's always been televised and publicized and dramatized sometimes in the media. So as it is the show, we are actually focused on looking at a different perspective, different way of looking at some topics, and so we're not going to dwell so much into Osama bin Laden's death because I believe the media has already covered that and there's so many angles to the show. But today's show is going to be a brief show. It's not going to be too long. So it's going to just look at some other things that we need to consider now that Osama bin Laden has been dead. And so, this is a country that's been, struggling with Taliban, attacks, from all over the world. And so it is, big news, and we are all thankful, just like as I am, that they have captured. And it's funny, just recently I was just reflecting how long must we watch our back as a country, whether Obama will be the president for the next term, and we're going to spend another 4 years looking at our backs, wondering, is Osama bin Laden going to attack again, or who's going to be the next country to be devastated by another terrorist attack. And so today's show is definitely going to look into just some of the issues that we need to still address long after, Osama bin Laden's death. So, the war on terrorism may still be going on to dealing with the Taliban, but as well, terrorism never ends. So aside from that, we need to start winding down, our effort, in the Middle East. What are we doing and where we're going forward, because that was one of our biggest goals. I guess we've done that and accomplished it, which is a great thing. But where do America as a whole stand right now? And so that's what this show is going to really talk about in a brief few minutes, and just, keep this in mind to think about as you go forward within the year and look at 2012. And definitely understand that, I didn't even plan to say it on the show, but, I think we could fairly say that Obama was able to seal his presidency candidacy for the next term. As it is typical of wars, usually, just like when President Bush was in office, he secured, through fear, I would say, or propaganda, that, we still need to be fearful of Osama bin Laden or be fearful of Saddam Hussein. Well, those two men are both dead today, and so we are grateful for the leadership of our presidents to have accomplished a great task. And those things have propelled them to the next level or the next term per se of the presidency of the United States of America. So I think for sure, with that in mind, we may not address that as a media, but I think it's surely safe to say that I think President Obama definitely could see himself in office for the next term, because, what can everybody say? We spent a lot of money on this war. Well, yes, we have, but understand that where this war started, this is the first of 4 years that, you could say President Obama has been in the office dealing with this war. But there was also, another 6 years or 8 years before that we actually been fighting a senseless war with no proper direction as to the conclusion, because we remember we moved our task from fighting bin Laden to fighting Saddam Hussein, and before that it was weapons of mass destruction, and we all know where that led us to. So without further ado, we're going to get started with the show and just address some issues that need to be considered now that Osama bin Laden has been found, has left and basically has been removed from this world. And so, we don't, promote death as a show, but I think it is safe to say that There's one less person in the world that we have to worry about causing pain and harm to citizens across the world. So today, we can say America now can focus on priority number one, which is, you know, with Bin Laden behind us, all we have left to deal with is really ourselves. Or another priority we could say, or must we start searching for a new public enemy number one? Because whether or not, we stop searching for Bin Laden or another terrorist leader, you know, are we going to continue on the war on terrorism, trying to find the next person? And we could always continue doing that because there's always going to be somebody else that's going to rise up to the ranks. And we're going to talk about that towards the end of the show. So it's time for us to look at ourselves in the mirror, really, and ask the serious questions. And are we going to get this economy back on track again? And that's really the issue, our economy. And are we going to reduce the deficit that this war has caused us in the last 10 years? Let's face it, our economy is still not getting any better, folks. Public schools are still being shut down. After school programs are still being cut, which leaves a lot of young children and young teenagers in the streets getting themselves in trouble. Or in some cases, as it is, the norm now, random shootings, random acts of violence, people robbing each other because there's no jobs, there's no income coming in, and there's no programs to keep our kids safe or keep them busy from getting into trouble. So those are issues that is concerning to us because those children are our future. Also, small businesses are closing up shop left and right. It's not stopping. Jobs are still laying off people. Seasoned employees, for example, are being offered, early retirement or finding themselves laid off. And so those issues haven't gone away. I think we've been masking those issues to the war on terrorism, fighting Bin Laden, dealing with Afghanistan, all the time, Iraq issues. Well, those things you could say are slowly going to come to pass. So when are we going to start looking at ourselves in the mirror and saying, what about America? Who's going to take care of America now? So what about our oil prices? Let's look into that. Is it going to stay the same, or should there be ethical issues to address? Because greed, we understand, is always there. So ethically, will prices start going down? Well, with the looks of things, folks, I think prices will remain as high as it is. And as they talk about the summertime, I think it will get higher. There's talks about $6 gas prices, which is getting ridiculous. But, I don't think just because Bin Laden has been captured and he's no longer with us, that oil prices, are going to be skyrocketing or using that as an excuse. Now we're going to look at, like I said, as ourselves, as humanity, is it just greed? And I think it is just greed that will truly show, because now there's no more excuses to say, well, we have this war we're dealing with. No, it's about really how seriously do we care about we as a people, and continue to rape is the best way I could say it, rape our countries and our people who's financially strapped already, and continue to increase prices on them regardless. For a second there, it just reminded me of what Enron did with California with the electricity, if you recall, a few years ago. Keep increasing the price of electricity and keep using that as an excuse for why, hey, elderly people's prices of electricity, AC has to be on 24/7 and continually bleeding money after money because, Enron decided to be corrupt and increase the prices and basically financially destroyed a lot of families and put a lot of people out because they couldn't afford to pay these ridiculous prices. So, that's something to think about. Next, well, it seems as though there are still a lot of open questions that still has not been addressed, or maybe will not even be addressed, because sometimes we want to overlook things and avoid the real questions avoid the real issues at hand, instead of looking at them face on. Regardless of those issues, folks, the death of Osama Bin Laden is real. He is dead. So are we going to continue using those excuses? Like I said, America, the gloves are off. There is no more excuses to hide behind. And that's really the fact. We can no longer say that our economy is falling apart because the war on terrorism continues. At some point, that must wind down as well. Bin Laden is still alive. Well, he is dead. That excuse is out of the way now. We must protect the citizens of Kuwait. Well, Saddam Hussein is also dead. That excuse needs to end. Well, we have to keep the pressure on the Taliban and secure the borders of Afghanistan. That's something I've heard over and over for a long time during this war. Well, we have just delivered a massive blow to the Taliban. Their leader is dead. I think they will be wounded for a while as they try to regroup. Let us be clear, they will not regroup overnight. So, for now, our only concern is the new Taliban militia being reformed. A new leader is coming in the forefront. I'm not saying let's forget about that, let's ignore those facts. Those are the things that we do need to think about. And it is of concern. So it doesn't mean that we totally stop the war on terrorism, pull all of our troops down there. But we need to have some people, some military folks down there. But do we need to have it full force is really the question I'm asking. I think by now they got the message after this past week. We are really a resilient country, but I ask you, America, at what price must we continue to fight this war on terrorism? At some point, we have to say enough is enough. Well, folks, that's our show for today, and it's a lot to think about, a lot to consider as we go through the rest of the year, and also coming to the election year, and really asking ourselves, what are we going to change? What are we going to be open to look at our issues as a country? We still have a lot of debt. We still have, a lot of pain, financial pain that's hurting this country. And as an entrepreneur and business person, we know what we're talking about, getting our people, getting our American citizens to be financially debt-free, financially empowering themselves to entrepreneurship, to business ownership, getting some people back into their homes. Those are the real issues that we're going to address. And so as an individual person, I definitely hope that you are thinking about these issues, and America as a whole is thinking about these issues and how we need to move forward and pay attention to the issues at hand and not use excuses and distractions from preventing us from accomplishing our goals to get people working again. As always, I hope you have been enlightened, been empowered, and definitely been educated. Take care and God bless.